And hello, esports fans. Welcome back to another wonderful week here at the PCS Summer Playoffs. I'm so excited to get into the action. Of course, I am Pirate Tank. Joining me on this broadcast is going to be the wonderful Clement Chu. And before we get underway, I would like to take a moment to thank our wonderful sponsors. You can see them on the bottom of your screen, but I'll go ahead and read them out for you anyways. They are CTBC Bank, China Airlines, Chunghwa Telecom, and of course, Caliber. Now, Clement, we have got ourselves a match that honestly looks quite close today. Hong Kong Attitude facing off against Taipei J-Team. And, it's elimination. It's win or go home. We are on that side of the bracket today.
Yeah, we are starting from the lower bracket, and we haven't gone to a full best of 5 just yet in the playoffs, but I've got a feeling that this is going to be the matchup, the closest one that we have so far. J-Team kind of falling down a peg in their recent performance, while Hong Kong Attitude has been surging forward. So even though these teams are, a little bit separated from the upper and lower parts of the standings in total, they are going to bring us the closest matchup today.
I think that is absolutely going to be the case. I am thinking back to week number 5 where these two teams last faced off, and it was a 42-minute game. It went back and forth, and it was Hong Kong Attitude that ended up emerging victorious. And
True.
They did their standard strategy, put it all on Kongye. J-Team had a hard time finding an answer to it, and it was the only time that J-Team had lost against a team in the bottom half of the standings. So there's a lot of possibility there. But let's take a look at how things have played out and what we look like going forward right now as we are moving into the bracket. Today, of course, Hong Kong Attitude versus J-Team. The winner of that match will move on to face the winner of tomorrow's matchup between Boom Esports and Machi Esports. And it kind of trolls a little bit up through the bracket to eventually get to that semifinal match. And if you can win that one, you get yourself a ticket to Worlds. It may be in play-ins, but it may very well be in the main event. And not going to be easy feat because, of course, you'll have to face off against either PSG or Beyond Gaming, but it is always a possibility. So I'm excited to see who comes out of this one. The elimination bracket matches, it's desperation in a way, right? If you lose, you go home. But there's some strong teams to contend with here.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just going home, it's the fact that you do not have a chance to go to Worlds anymore, despite whatever you did in spring, because of the way that the format works in the PCS. There is no regional qualifier, there is no point system. You're out here, then you're just done for sure. You have to make it to the next week at the very least to hold on to your slot. So unfortunately, one of these teams will be missing out on this year's international events from this point onwards. And it's going to be a hard-fought one. Like we said, again, the stakes are super high for J-Team. They came into this season with Mission on their roster, and they said, we are the de facto second-best team in the PCS. That hasn't yet to materialize. While on the other hand, Hong Kong Attitude also had a pretty bad start in spring, going all the way down to 8th place, but making a surge now with Kongyuan and hopefully keeping their dreams alive.
And it did take a little while for them to come back onto that level that we expected, and some interesting changes to the roster. We'll get into that in a moment when we actually do load up those rosters before the pick and ban. But yeah, it's interesting the parallels of these two teams. J-Team, I think, really not quite living up to their expectations, but still showing strength, at least against some of the weaker sides, whereas Hong Kong Attitude having that last-minute surge to get the number 6 seed and not having to play automatically in the lower side of the bracket. Of course, they did drop out early on, but were able to have a convincing 2-0 against the Berjaya Dragons last week. Honestly, this is a team that has been going up in momentum. And kind of the opposite story for J-Team. Yes, it was PSG they faced off against, but you're getting 3-0'd, and they had a chance in that game, too. They could have snapped the winning streak, for the side of PSG, but they couldn't quite close it out. And I do wonder, against the tougher teams, they do seem to struggle sometimes.
It's very interesting for me in the matchup because their best performing parts are in the same position, with Hana showing up huge. This guy was a utility jungle before the entire back end of the summer split, and then we saw what he could do. He was by far the best player in their series up against PSG, which honestly they should have won, but their weakest link has also been in the same spot. It has been between Mission and Bivin. Mission very critically when they had the Elder, when they had the Dragon Soul, and it looked like J-Team was about to close off the game against PSG. He went over the wall and just instantly got caught and died. So a huge throwaway from Mission right there in the last series. And I really want to see Mission live up to his expectations. This guy still has the best laning stats of any player in the playoffs, but has not been able to convert it to a solid teamfight performance.
Yeah, keep him on the control mages. He certainly looks a lot better and certainly looks a lot more comfortable. It's what he's known for. But those LeBlanc plays getting a little too flashy sometimes, doesn't quite work out well for him. Let's take a look, though, at their opponents, the Hong Kong Attitude. And this is a team, they're a lot simpler to really define because you don't even really need to look at Bivin in the middle, even though he has improved. It's all about that man second from the left, Kong Ye. This team plays around him. This team plays for him. He's the one getting all the kills, and they're just setting him up for success. And he has everybody get in the backpack in the late game. And that strategy has proved very effective for the Hong Kong Attitude, not just in the playoffs, but in the back half of their split.
As we talked about, strongest performance coming from the same position. Kongye currently in the postseason has the most kills, has the highest kill participation, and the best kill share. He is the de facto carry of Hong Kong Attitude. So we're going to be taking a look at the stats right here. Off to a better start is actually Hong Kong Attitude. They are going to go for those first bloods a little bit more, but I would say where J-Team still has a decided advantage, and this might surprise a lot of people, is still coming into the team fights. I actually still think J-Team, despite all of their team fight mishaps, despite that being the weaker part of their game compared to the other top teams, it is still, relatively speaking, stronger than Hong Kong Attitudes. And we actually saw that a lot against the Berjaya series. There was a lot of messy fights where were not very well coordinated coming in from Hong Kong Attitude. Even though it was still a 2-0, team fights is actually where we see J-Team winning out. And I think that's why they have such a better Baron Nashor score control rate as well. The other big thing to notice is that this is going to be a blue side favored draft for J-Team. If you look at win rate on blue side, for Hong Kong Attitude, that number is only 1 game out of 6. While it's close to 60% for J-Team on the other side, and I do expect this series to follow this trend. Whenever they have the opportunity, Hong Kong Attitude is going to go on red, J-Team going to go on blue. I would not be surprised if all 5 games go with the same side selection.
And, you know, I think it really speaks to what you're talking about with the messier team fighting from Hong Kong Attitude and the better fighting from J-Team with that last statistic, the goal difference of 15. J-Team are a team that they kind of like to control things a little bit and keep their opponents from really finding those advantages. And it works a lot better against these weaker and less coordinated teams, the bottom half of the standings. And I haven't faced as many of those teams in the playoffs, of course, because it does start to shave some of those teams off the bracket. But for Hong Kong Attitude, despite the fact that they are consistently down in the early game, it's because they win in the late game. This is a team that finds ways to outscale, not just with Kong Ye, but they draft for these scaling team fights. Even if they are a little bit messy, sometimes they can just overpower their opponents. And I do think that drafting is going to be so important for J-Team here. And they will kick it off on the blue side. We do see the first bans rolling through Viego and Gwen. I like that. Do not give Kong Ye those powerful champions.
For sure, and I exactly agree with this draft so far. We've been talking about Kongye, his ability to hard carry the game through late game scaling junglers is what is keeping Hong Kong Attitude afloat. It's the main reason of their surge, and those 3 champions are basically Diana, Viego, and Gwen. So those are going to be on the perma ban list. However, Diana, I like that J-Team left that one open because Diana requires a lot more setup. You need typically strong early AD carry lanes to keep Diana afloat. And, you know, J-Team are willing to play against that. I think the stage is set very clear. J-Team trying to play a hard, early snowballing game, starting off with the Syndra pick in the mid lane, while Hong Kong Attitude are going to be the ones looking for a little bit more scaling. And I think this setup actually favors J-Team a bit more. J-Team, as we saw in the stats, they're very good at getting early leads. They're actually one of the best teams, especially against the lower tier teams, to accomplish that. On the other hand, Hong Kong Attitude's team fight is actually somewhat suspect. They a lot of times don't have reliable hard engage, so they have to go in with Kongye, who also happens to be their main carry, and that's a setup that's very, very dicey. Either she comes in, he kills one target, and they snowball the fight, or he dies instantly and you lose the entire thing. So,
and you see this a lot with like
J-Team,
with like Bivin as well, right? Like he'll go in on the Twisted Fate, and he tries. It's kind of like trying to like cheese the engage a little bit, or just go for a pick instead. And I think that's one of the reasons we see Bivin on these champions on these few champions that can really make that play. And J-Team, they take one of those champions away. The Lee Sin's locked by Hana. I really like this adaptation. It kind of does force Bivin onto the TF pick. He doesn't seem to have a very deep champion pool, but he doesn't have to pick it right now. We might see something different. Oh, is this going to be the evolution here, Clement?
LeBlanc is a rather difficult matchup. Yeah, I don't think you want to go for... LeBlanc requires snowballing to be effective, And in that matchup alone, most of the time it's actually Syndra favored. Distort goes back to the exact same spot, so if you can line yourself up with the Distort position, Syndra actually gets a pretty easy scatter of the week. I don't think Bivin wants to challenge that. What we've been seeing from him is that he will basically just scuff his lane and roam around to support Kongyue and his ganks. I think that has been working for Hong Kong Attitude. They're not going to change the formula this late into the playoffs, so no surprises there.
Yeah. We enter ban phase 2, you start to see it change up just a little bit. The Xin Zhao actually removed from Kongyue. Meanwhile, the Gangplank is not going to be allowed for Rest. Now, Rest has played an interesting variety of champions here in the playoffs. We've already seen that GP once. We've seen the Mordekaiser come in. And we'll see if they continue to try and target him. One thing we hadn't talked about as much was that Trundle. That should be the support pickup there for Woody. And hasn't seen an AD carry to pair with it. So they are going to ban the Ash away, as already Zig's off the table. So Lilvy's going to have to move a little bit further down in the pool, but I think he could probably match on some pressure. Something like a Jhin is a possibility, as always.
I don't think they're going to go with Jhin necessarily, because we saw in their last game, that's pretty much the reason they lost. Once Jhin gets into the late game and he can't snowball effectively, it's very hard to make use of that champion. So I do expect something actually a little bit safer and more in line with what we've seen. Probably just going with the Ezreal here. Still a very strong champion in its own right. Definitely not as exciting as the Jhin. For Hong Kong Attitude here, though, I do think Nidalee might be on the cards. Nidalee actually has a very good pairing ability with Aphelios late game, just because of that Primal Surge. You give a massive amount of attack speed into Eminem later on, and, Nidalee Twisted Fate is one of those old but gold combos there. You land the gold card, you chuck a spear in, that's almost instantly a kill. So Hong Kong Attitude, I love this pick, and I'm actually a little bit disappointed that J-Team didn't ban out Nidalee here. If you're going to ban the Xin, you might as well ban the Nid. Leaving one open kind of invalidates the other ban, basically.
Yeah, it is a little curious, and it's something that Kongyue has picked up here in the postseason, and now as the picks go through, we actually have a Ryze lock-in. Is this going to be the solo lane Ryze up top?
Ooh. Wow. So I think what we should be seeing is actually should be Syndra bottom lane, and this is something that we've seen in the LPL as well. Syndra with Scatter of the Week does have a range advantage over Aphelios. It's actually a very strong matchup against Aphelios because Aphelios is also low mobility. So you land Scatter of the Week, he has to dodge that out with foot speed, and even if he takes the Dark Passage, you can burst him down with Power Unleashed. So it's quite a strong counter pick, but not something that we have actually seen Lilvy play. I think that's the big question. The mastery of Syndra is a lot harder than people might think.
Yeah, this is a really interesting flex there for J-Team. Now, on the Hong Kong Attitude side, if they do lock this Jace, it does go in line with what Rock typically likes to do. It also means this is an extremely squishy team. And I feel like Hong Kong Attitude are going to just try to set up for those quick picks that we do see them execute a lot of times with Kongyue and Bivin in conjunction.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that. There are so many easy dive targets coming out here. You look at the Syndra, she's super easy to just kill with Gold Card into Javelin Toss. Ryze as well. Not a lot of mobility early on these carries. But I would say that this actually goes for both sides. Both sides are basically going to go into a knife fight this time around. There basically aren't any tanks showing up on either side right here. And I would also point out to Mission. Like, if you see this sort of a team composition where there's no one that can take multiple damages, Overload will get resets very easily. If you kill a target, Spell Flux automatically gives you that spread across the entire team. And if you're talking about like a choke fight in Drake, where red side has to come down that ramp from blue or from the right side of river, that could mean a death sentence. We've seen a lot of games where Riot just blows entire teams up in those spots.
Yeah, not to mention getting some serious flanks off with the portal. I'm curious to see how well J-Team executed. Hong Kong Attitude, they have been known for some occasional scuffed fights, so there is an opening there for J-Team to take advantage of. We'll have to see who comes out ahead in this one. Of course, Rest with the Gnar lock-in as the last one we didn't really talk about as much. Might have a little bit of a hard time up against Rock, we'll have to see. But this is a really interesting matchup. I love the way the draft actually evolved here. And I love that both teams are going into it just saying, all right, we're just going to go all in and try to kill you before you kill us. It's going to be an exciting game. It's going to be explosive. And I cannot wait to see it.
So to kind of sum it up, I feel like Hong Kong Attitude has a more fundamentally sound team. This is basically early aggression in the top side. We're going to blow people up. We're going to snowball with Nidalee and Twisted Fate. It's a very tried and true strategy. On the other hand, for J-Team, they're going to try to win out the bottom lane and then transition into 1-3-1 late. However, if you look at their champions, Gnar and Ryze actually take a very long time to get online. This is actually a much slower comp than I initially expected. And if you look at Syndra and Trundle, they don't have a lot of good escape. So in terms of the archetype, I think J-Team has actually drafted themselves something that is a little bit more muddied, but has a lot of potential in terms of just like outvaluing people later into the game.
It does seem like it's going to come down to a lot of individual skill performance. And this is always kind of the case when it comes to playoffs, as teams are very close in the standings. Keep in mind, these were the number 5 and number 6 seeds, and there was a pretty big divide during the regular season in terms of win-loss, but that gap started to narrow, and it really narrowed right between these two. So taking a look at the runes to kick things off, starting this game up, and I'm excited to see how they face off, and a lot of lanes to keep eyes on for sure.
Yeah, a couple things to point out right off the bat here. We do have a phase rush coming out on top of the Jace. You know, not going for the Conquerors. He is trying to just kite out, keep his distance a little bit. And throughout most of the laning phase, he does actually have a range advantage against Gnar. Gnar starts out very, very low range and scales up with levels. So he's just trying to kite that, kite rest out completely. On the other hand, we do have Conquerors from Kongyue. So this is more of a dueling focused Nidalee, not the strongest gank setup you could get with something like the Electrocute that we have seen before, but still, you know, very, very common on that end. And we will see how this bot lane actually works out here. You know, the main thing is going to come out for Lil V, I think, until level 3, where he does have that entire burst combo. That's going to make things really deadly. And with the Trundle Pillar, it's very easy for him to actually force Eminem into bad situations and just take that full crowd control. So the level 3 is probably what I'm going to be looking at for the bottom side, but for now, relatively safe across the board.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to keep an eye on K's positioning in this lane, because I think it's going to be very important for him to try and be there to help save Eminem a number of times. But as you mentioned, with Kongyue going for more of a dueling Nidalee setup on that Conquerors, I think that's kind of typical Kongyue. Yeah, like, sure, he's going to want to gank, but he really wants the power later in the game. It's just how he plays, and it's one of the things I love about Hong Kong Attitude. They're a team that is, I don't mean this in a bad way, they're predictable. You know what they're going to do, but they're really good at it.
True, and I think the meta has helped them a lot because there's so many high-powered picks that can go directly into the jungle, as we see the combo come out at level 2.
Jeez, that is brutal.
Yeah,
it's a good start for Lil V and Woody.
Tons of damage coming out there, and this is going to happen again and again. You know, this is I think it's in lane, it's a very strong counter, but in terms of the team fights, it's much harder for the Syndra side to play out the entire matchup. She is pretty much single target and not a lot of sustained damage. So compared to traditional AD carries, it's harder for her to get things done in terms of the team fights, but the laning phase should just be a one-sided slaughter coming into this phase. On the other hand, I do want to mention that Mission's having a very good time against Bivin early on as well. Sure, he can't dodge out on the gold cards necessarily, but he is pushing his wave well, and we are going to get the battle for Scuttle here with Mission coming in first a lot faster.
Ooh, everyone's bringing everyone to the party here. Kongyue actually going to try to join back up with Bivin as the cards are popped. Rock even joining this one. It's a lot of investment over the Scuttle Crab vision early on.
Oh, the stun comes in.
Cut the teleport, in they go! Mission followed over the wall. That's going to be first blood to Rock right now as Kongyue defended by his top laner, but meanwhile, they did leave Bivin off by his lonesome, and now that means the rest of J-Team can start to turn around here in enemy territory. Flash is burned across the way. Rock has nowhere to go. Kongyue, he could be a dead man as well, and Rock, he's going way out there as he will fall. Kongyue, he's unfortunately going to be a dead man too, and man, Hong Kong Attitude, heavy investment in this one, but they're going to get punished for it. Lil V even picking up the Syndra kill.
It looked like a really bad bait from Mission, but he had the calculations down to a T. They forgot about Little V's teleport. If you look at Mission here, he pretty much dies to the combo that we're talking about. Just very easy gold card into the Javelin toss right here and the Shock Blast combo, basically wiping him off the map immediately. But they get the return kill straight off the bat with Hana finding his Q combo, flashes over the wall to get that. And then the most critical part is the Syndra coming in and zoning them off from a good position. So J-Team, props to them. They read the play so damn well. And Hong Kong Attitude, I think they just forgot to factor in that Syndra play. That's the strength of these unique picks coming out. A lot of times you don't really remember something having priority over your bot lane and then still being able to join the fight top.
Yeah, you got to keep it in mind, and it does kind of speak to some of the chaos that Hong Kong Attitude tend to play under, and you got to be careful when the enemy team has a teleport advantage almost permanently in the game, 3 to the 2 that they have, and kills spread right now, it's 2 in the hands of Hana, and Hana is somebody that I really want to keep an eye on as well, because this is a jungler that's just improved so much, and even though Kongye is kind of like the star of the show when it comes to just about any jungle matchup, this is a game where maybe he could give him a run for his money.
Oh, for sure. With this sort of a start, Lee Sin has tremendous pressure over the Nidalee. And if we look at the build here, Nidalee is not building stopwatch. So a level 6 burst coming in from Hana could just kill Kongyo straight off the bat. But we do have a gank coming in.
Yes, we do. That's going to be the Scout of the Week from Lil V, but unfortunately get rooted up after the fact. And now the jump forward and Bivin with the gold card. Easy peasy, 1, 2, 3 for Kong Yi to pick up that kill. Big investment again from the Hong Kong Attitude side, but they do lock it up.
Yeah, that was a great start coming in from K. He knows that the bottom lane in Lil V doesn't have his flash. He gets the double flay on the support anyway, and then Eminem holds the Gravitum for later. So great chaining of CC right here. Honestly, Lil V played that about as well as he could, but being in that position just meant that he was dead. Nowhere to go. To be frank, I don't think Bivin really needed to be here whatsoever. He does get an assist, but does lose out on some pressure in the mid lane. So just a little bit nitpicking right there, but probably didn't need the Twist of Fate.
Yeah, I think it just speaks to the fact that this team really wants to kind of all be present to secure it up, but you're right, he loses a little bit of lane prio on that one. Doesn't get punished too heavily in the CS department for it, but it is just the collapse they try to always go for, but you're right, not wholly necessary in that case.
Yeah, no big problem right here. We are going to get Mission having some time to move up to his Realm Warp, and he should be able to move across the lanes in this wave. So we'll see if he decides to go anywhere, or if he's just going to go for a straight-up back. Could also be a decent possibility. It looks like they will move into Drake at this point. We talked about Hana, and he is level 6 with Dragon's Rage against level 5 Kongyue. He can one-shot Kongyue at this point. I'm
so you have to respect that.
Yeah,
they're just going to secure Scuttle, but
they should be able to move to Herald or Drake off of this play. Like, this is a huge play for them. Mission has such a large advantage over Twisted Fate in terms of tempo. Hana has kill threat, so I think J-Team should be able to transition that punish from Bivin, unnecessarily using his Destiny Gate into a Herald play.
Look at this, actually going to jump the wall. Hana moving in to try and cut off Kongye and Rock, but they got a little bit of advanced warning, had some vision there, and the kick does come out, but here comes Bivin around the side looking for that gold card setup instead. He's not going to find it, just threatening and chasing J-Team away from this. So, honestly, what could have been probably a free Herald doesn't really amount to much of anything for J-Team.
Yeah, that was a very half-hearted attempt from J-Team. I'm not sure what they hope to achieve right there. And Kongya actually still finds the smite onto the big Krugs. So a little bit unfortunate. I felt like J-Team could have extended this play and just held onto their tempo without expending any of their ultimates. But, unfortunately, they did go for the play without much success. Let's see if they can find Bivin this time around. K is there to help out, so it's probably going to be very difficult. And we do have the back from Kongyu as well, so I think things have actually equalized considerably here, and this Herald take is a lot more dangerous compared to what he was just a minute ago. Oof.
Yeah, look at that spear landing, almost max range there on Hana. That's going to make him rethink the calculus on this take, and vision down. Meanwhile, Eminem's actually found Lil V solo, and oh my word! This is one of the things you can do. Does dodge the Moonlight Vigil, though, and that might have been the difference maker. Flash already down.
Yeah, that's a big difference when you do have that heal against Lil V, and once Eminem is able to sidestep Scatter the Weak, there's nothing in the tank left for the Syndra, so he just has to turn tails and run, and this is getting a lot sketchier for J-Team than what I assumed it would be.
couple of Nidalee Spears can make things a little bit dicey right now, and actually you can see Rock wants to get involved to make this a 4 for 4. They do actually get the stun off on the gold card. Hana taking so low, but he flashes the wall. Kongye, you better believe he's going to follow him for the shutdown. Pulled right back on in. Meanwhile, it's not going to be the Herald. They do want to save Rock. It does reset. No smite, so they should be able to claim the spoils here. And Hong Kong Attitude, after everything, they're the ones getting the kill and the play.
I love the execution on Hong Kong Attitude's side. They basically have an auto-aim sniper at this point. It's like hacks when you're playing an FPS game, but you go in with the gold card, you guarantee land the javelin toss, and that's just 2 spears to get themselves the complete advantage here. As we were talking about, this was a play coming into it where J-Team had a decided tempo lead. You had level 6 on Hana, you had a mission with an extra, a lot of extra strength and presence on the board, but because they expended most of their energy on just, I don't know why Hana uses Dragon Rage, to be honest. I have no idea why. Like, it didn't do anything. And Hong Kong Attitude just come out much, much stronger after the play. They also punished Lil V. In that play, Lil V actually had a teleport ready to go, so he was trying to shove his way super hard, and Eminem just sidesteps and hard punishes him on that play, and it all just goes sideways for J-Team, so... Very unfortunate there. I felt like if they played this a little bit more careful, they should have been able to secure the Herald. They still pushed for it after their mishaps, and props to Kongye for landing everything.
Yeah, you know, definitely give him credit. He's able to really make the play when he needs to, and, you know, now with the kill that Kongye picked up, he's actually able to secure his Night Harvester, and, you know, the turntables, they just keep going. 3-3 in kills. J-Team do manage to grab themselves a Cloud Dragon, at least, but, you know, apart from pushing bottom wave, they've not been able to get a whole lot done here, and it ties back to, honestly, just that weird half chase up topside when they really could have gotten the Herald for free. They kind of scuffed their tempo advantage.
Yeah, I really don't know what happened to that play. Like, they should have just sticked around, took Krugs, made sure that Nidalee didn't hit level 6, and you just turn around for Herald. Like, with that sort of a lead, you should have no problem. But now we are seeing a full rotate in from Hong Kong Attitude. Finally going to be spotted out.
Mission! Okay, he's able to move away in time. That was just, it was so dangerous. When we saw Mission Vision, I was like, oh god, he's dead. Meanwhile, though, Woody is going to get pulled in by the spear, and oh, yeah, that flayback. He does get the subjugate on. That will keep him alive for now, but meanwhile, Vivian coming in once again, and Party Portal, he's going to go golden just in time to get zapped out to safety. What a great escape.
Yeah, but that will still leave mid lane wide open for the taking right here. Hong Kong Attitude using this tempo lead beautifully, chasing people around, forcing the enemy support to rotate with them. And they honestly still have a lot of time to come down to this bot lane. I think at most Syndra probably gets 1 plating. Oh, actually a lot more than that. Okay.
Lily's been doing double time, so that's not the worst case scenario. But yeah, I really liked what Hong Kong Attitude did there, very decisively to turn immediately onto the mid. They couldn't quite secure first brick, but immediately popping the Herald in range and getting the full charge off.
And this is really detrimental to a comp that wants to play 1-3-1 in the late game. If you think about Syndra going mid, she can't stay there without the mid lane tower being present. That's just an open invitation for a gold card into Javelin Toss. So, Hong Kong Attitude at this point, even though it might not look like it in the gold lead, I actually feel like they're very close to just blowing this game wide open. The Syndra lane has completely failed. It has not been holding down Eminem in lane whatsoever. Eminem is coming out with the CS lead, and you know, after this back, he should be able to equalize on the Mythics as well. So, J-Team, I feel like they need one big play to stabilize and allow them leeway to actually scale up with the Rise and the Gnar pick.
Yeah, right now they are, you know, at least sniffing around the map at the moment, but there has been just a lot of really good ward coverage here from Hong Kong Attitude. They do see this quick rotate here, and it means they can stay nice and safe against it. So Hong Kong Attitude, you know, I really like what they've been able to do here in just taking advantage of a couple of missteps, a couple of unforced errors, and maybe not finding as many kills as they would like, but certainly stopping this overt pressure as Lilvi even steps up far enough to tank a tower shot. Looked like he really wanted that last second plate.
We are seeing a 4v2 develop into the bot side. J-Team should be spotted here, and this is a pretty good timing because Destiny Gate is not available just yet. Neither is the TPs. So I do like this move from J-Team. They should be able to get this bottom tower. It's just, you know, using the sequence to the best of their abilities. And talking about J-Team's composition, they do have great chance for pick-off potential. There's very high amounts of single target damage coming out between the Ryze, Lee Sin, and the Syndra. But what we really need to see is Woody and Lil V being able to use their abilities in combination. We want to see the Pillar force someone into the pathway of Scatter the Weak and instantly just kill them. That's the go-to combo for J-Team. And, let's see if it happens.
They're just going to settle for taking the tower on this one. Eminem doing a decent job of sidestepping some of the damage, but now the counter engage looks to be coming through. Bivin and Kongye were sniffing for it, but J-Team just a little quick on the draw, so they do secure first brick for themselves. It's not a play that busts the game back open in their favor, but it certainly helps stem the bleeding.
Yeah, I actually like this play from Hong Kong Attitude. It's basically forcing a TP into mid lane to defend here. They're just cutting off the pathway from Mission. Lil V does a lot of damage now.
Easy to bait, though, on the gold card, instantly into the hook, and the javelin! What a beautiful combo!
Goodbye.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, that was some sick plays, moving back and forward there. Bivin able to go back in. I think he actually used a summoner right there. He did get a speed up of some sort. I would like to watch the play again, but I believe what happened there is actually went back with a speed up, either the heal or a ghost coming in with the unsealed spellbook, and then just caught Lil V off by surprise. Lil V still had his flash, but did not expect the turnaround.
Yeah, I want to see that replay again too, because it was just like 1, 2, 3, easy peasy. But we got to talk about that in a minute, because Kongye on Woody, a 3-level advantage between the jungler and the support. Javelin is dodged, and Hana does come to the rescue. But this is where we're starting to get to that scary Nidalee point. You know, you can't go chasing deep into the jungle by yourself. You can't go on a warding mission unaccompanied, because there is a scary cougar lady that will murder you.
You remember? Okay, probably this is too hard for anyone to remember, but there was this one game in LPL last year where Rogue Warriors, who were like the 16th team in the LPL, somehow beat Top Esports. And the only reason that happened because there was a fed Nidalee, and the Nidalee couldn't miss. So that's
Clement. I'm gonna tell you, I remember this, but I only remember it because you told me about it. Actually, because I remember you raving about it. It was like, yeah, the Nidalee just saved the day.
We talked about this concept in the PCS before. It's if you have a great Nidalee player and they're on a roll, you should just ban Nidalee in the future, because typically it goes for the entire day as Woody gets caught again.
Yeah, he does, and unfortunately for Kay, he didn't really have a whole lot of backup there. He does go golden for just a second. He's going a little bit low, but able to walk back into the safety of team mission, stepping up, looking for the overloads. Not going to find it. That is a very close call, and Rock is not near this team. Gonna teleport in off Fountain. But Kay, he can't really get involved in this one, so the teams are just kind of like standing off with one another. Good poke coming out from the Shock Blast as Kay does grab some Honey Fruit, but ooh, that's a close call.
Yeah, in terms of the poke war, Hong Kong Attitude should still have a decided advantage here. As we see the Moonlight Vigil completely whiff.
Yeah, the Shock Blasts are coming through, but yeah, that probably is going to spell the end of it, as Rest is actually just going to teleport back to the top side.
Yeah, I think what J-Team are looking for is just going for picks around these brushes where they do have some vision advantage. Like, they could very easily kill a target over the wall without committing too much to it. So I think that's what J-Team are playing for. But in terms of, like, extended poke wars, they really don't hold a candle against Hong Kong Attitude at this point. You have a 3-1 Nidalee and also Jace with Eclipse. So, yeah, they're more going for picks at this point. And once that didn't happen, I feel like they're going for a sneaky play here. This is also extremely risky coming in. We need to see some big plays from Lil V.
Hana just takes so much damage off those spears. We've seen this one before. They're going to drag this out. They are a little closer to securing it. Let's see if Hong Kong Attitude can make them pay for it right now. Gold card on. Just watch Bivin as looking to go in behind. Actually gets stolen away, and now they're going for the fight again. Bivin, he's going to get locked up behind enemy lines, but that is a great lantern from Kay. Meanwhile, the Lil V is able to take down Rock right on the front of it also. While there was no deletion from Hong Kong Attitude, they do lose one, but they get out with the Herald, and it's picked up by Kongye.
Yeah, oh, jeez. That's still a slight win for Hong Kong Attitude in my book. Like, Rock did not have a big bounty on him, so him going down, while it was a little bit weird to see him in that position, getting the Herald definitely still worth it for Hong Kong Attitude on this one. And, you know, I feel like J-Team, what they were looking for was a big turnaround play. They hopefully wanted to get multiple kills here and keep their lead somewhat, but It didn't really happen. I think Rock actually overchases for the play right here.
Yeah.
There's no real reason to go that deep. Lil V also had his flash, so that play wasn't really going to happen, and he does lose the top lane tower for it as well. So still a small win for Hong Kong Attitude. I think they should have been able to get away with more, though.
Yeah, we talk about how Hong Kong Attitude sometimes have these these fights that are a little bit messy, a little bit sloppy, and teams don't always punish them for it. You saw it right there. I think this obviously was on Rock, stepping a little too far forward, a little bit too much for the chase, but it's that level of communication error that sometimes can punish you in the postseason. Now, as we crest that 20-minute mark, it is very, very close, dead even in kills, just about even in gold, a dragon apiece. And J-Team, they have that one extra tower, but you have to think with that Herald, that's going to probably be equalized soon as well.
Yeah, the problem for J-Team right now is they can't really farm safely in their side lanes. Destiny Gate can just pop out behind their towers. They could find a very easy kill with Nidalee. Just because Nidalee packs so much damage at this point, like any gold card can just be lethal in a heartbeat. So I don't really see J-Team being able to farm up to a 1-3-1 scenario. I think this is a game where J-Team actually need to outplay in the mid game and not just rely on the fact that maybe Gnar and maybe the Rise can outscale in the late game. They're not really going to get the lead here, and you can see exactly what I'm talking about here. Once Hong Kong Attitude overload a side on the map, Rise has to respect that Mission cannot farm in the side lanes anymore. He has to just back out.
Yep. Unfortunately, Shelly gets a little distracted by some minions, but Rock is going to help out with that one. And meanwhile, we've got a little bit of a play from J-Team on the mid side. They realize they could rotate a little bit faster, but will they get punished for it as the tower does go down? I don't think they do. That's actually a nice catch from J-Team.
Yeah, that was absolutely beautiful. And Hong Kong Attitude, let's be perfectly honest, actually over-rotated for that play. The Herald drop was not complete. They actually sent K into the bottom side as well when a two-man squad would have hit. And this is something I've always said that J-Team, I think, does really well, is they are one of the most fundamentally sound teams in the PCS. In terms of macro rotations, they're just, they're really up there with the best of them. It's about split-second decision-making and execution where they fall behind, but in terms of their fundamentals, they're a great team, and they're able to find these small punishes to keep themselves relatively close into the game. We have to see if Korea lands some more of these spears, though.
Oh, he steals it away again! Oh, no! Kongye, the bandit this game. He steals a dragon, he steals a herald. This time, they don't overchase for it, although, as I say it, gotta be careful there.
That's kind of crazy. You don't get a smite advantage anymore. Oh, Woody flashing in.
Hold on a second. The portal is incoming. They're actually going to burn K's flash, and Kongye will hop the wall. So they do get something for their troubles, but yeah, J-Team, they're really having a hard time securing these objectives.
Yeah, that is so damn painful, and the calculus really changes here because if Hong Kong Attitude is able to snowball away the Drake, which is an Ocean Soul Drake, very detrimental against a 1-3-1 composition that a lot of time requires chip damage in the side lanes, that just means they don't really have a late game to look forward to. So I feel like J-Team are now forced to look for some risky plays to cling back into the game. And once again, I want to point to the fact that Woody and Syndra, they need to be able to use that Pillar plus Scatter the Weak combo. That is why you draft this composition. And if you don't have that present, here we go.
Yeah, this time, though, K was there with the Lantern to bail him out, and they are going to get out of dodge. I do feel like it's interesting you talk about how J-Team, they're very fundamentally sound, but they have issues with individual, decision-making in those situations that are chaotic. You saw that there with the Dragon, where they got indecisive and they end up giving it up again to the Smite fight from Kongye. I feel like Hong Kong Attitude is the opposite. Sometimes the fundamentals are a little head-scratchy. You talk about the over-rotation down bottom, but in these fights, even though they're messy, sometimes they have their eyes on the prize and they know what they need to do.
Yeah, that's my general take on Hong Kong Attitude is... the series against Berjaya, I felt like it was simultaneously one of the most entertaining series, but also simultaneously one of the most infuriating series, because both teams would actually just drop objectives and go for kill plays out of the blue and pay dearly for it. That's kind of Hong Kong Attitude in a nutshell. They are one of the worst Dragon securing teams, and in general, not a very good team fighting team. But what has made them so successful, especially in the later half of the split, is a lot of times they have that sixth sense to go for picks. and they just find you out of the blue. They get this kill onto Kongre, he snowballs out of control, and everything that you kind of deem as traditional, conventional League of Legends just fades into the background, and you kind of realize it doesn't matter anymore. Like, in this meta, where it's all about carry picks, it's all about hero action, sometimes it's about the play in the moment.
Yeah, well, they are a very, very entertaining team, for sure. That's one of the things I love about this squad. That, and you just, like, you know what the script is going to be. This is not a game of League of Legends. It's a Michael Bay film. There will be lots of explosions, crazy stuff will happen, and they're going to try to win. They're going to try to be the good guys as the gold card comes in. Stun on, and the spear's going to land. Lil V's health bar is in 2, but that's going to be the follow engage. That's a lot of damage on the stun, but Eminem turns huge there with the Moonlight Vigil, and now Hong Kong Attitude, they're on the chase once more. Here comes Kong Ye, able to sidestep the scatter of the week. Traffic cone comes up. I don't think it's going to really matter. Shouldn't chase them away from too much here, and now without Lil V in the picture, you start to wonder if they bait this Baron out.
Oh, that was a disgusting cleanup with the Collector right here. We saw X just really marks the spot there, blows him up, and Hong Kong Attitude now going for the Baron play. They don't have a lot of tanks on this team, though, so J-Team, if Rest can get his Gnar bar up, this could be a big turnaround point, but he has no rage.
Portal. Actually not even going to take it here. They're just trying to stall out Hong Kong Attitude. No tanks, you're right. They're taking a little bit low here. The Baron is going to reset, and oh boy, J-Team just not able to keep up with the poke and the turn.
Yeah, that was beautiful. I'm not sure how Lil V just got disappeared so quickly there. There was a lot of damage from Eminem, but I want to see if he actually took a spear to the face. That was almost off of our screen where Lil V died, so...
Yeah, well, he took the spear early. He took the spear like really early, right? That was he gets down to half health, and then they turn the fight. Here's going to be that replay. Let's see it again, because the teleport does come in as Rest is already backing away, and Bivin comes through. They get the stun. Spear lands at max range, and then he chases.
He even flashes for that one, straight into the Moonlight Vigil. Oh, the coordination on that play from J-Team was so lackluster. You could see, even with Lil V flashing in, Mission and Hana were still about 3 seconds away. Like, Hong Kong Attitude were in no real threat there, and Lil V kind of just throws himself like a moth at a flame. Oh, geez, that is a tough play, and they nearly lose the entire Baron buff right there. Kongre going to come out of Vision here.
Vivin starts it up, and they're going to look for Lil V to delete him, take him off the map immediately, and now Woody going to be caught up. Not anything he can do about that. Hong Kong Attitude staying alive entirely. K has been on point.
Oh my god, not again. These plays are happening over and over again. This is the auto sniper 360 no scope game plan coming in for Hong Kong Attitude. You don't need team-wide coordination if all you need is gold card plus javelin toss to kill someone. So, great game plan coming in from Try.
I love what this team's been able to do. Vivin's going to be taken a little bit low here as the counter engage comes through, and then immediately they turn to absolutely blow up Hana right back onto the Baron. Hong Kong Attitude, they're absolutely in the driver's seat now, Clement.
Oh yeah, there's no question about this. These plays have been so clean coming in from Bivin. Just look at the hurting here. Kongre separates Mission from the team. Destiny Gate over the wall to cut off the escape, and then you have K on the other side. They instantly blow off 2 targets completely. And look at Rest. He actually has a perfect Mega Gnar bar, but he knows he can't go in. The play just happened so damn quickly, and the damage from Kongre is way too high at this point. So, they can run this play again. As long as Lil V doesn't have stasis and doesn't have flash, he's a sitting duck. He can't venture out on the map at all.
Yeah, and you have to think, like, when you see this engage, it's like, okay, Bivin's going to go and set up the gold card. He's going to die, but the team's still going to trade better. Bivin doesn't die because K is right there with the Lantern play. Like, I highlighted the Thresh because his hooks, his boxes, and his lanterns have just been so damn good for these quick picks.
For sure, and I love what Hong Kong Attitude has drafted right here, and the way that they're playing around this composition. It's a go, go, go type of comp, and this is where I feel like Hong Kong Attitude really works the best. They're not great with scaling or poke compositions, but if you give them a comp that's strong from start to finish, they can definitely just close you out with individual ability right here. And if you look at all the damage numbers, it's pretty scary. Look, Mission's taking a quarter of his HP from a single shock blast, and like Hong Kong Attitude could wipe the entire J-Team squad without even being in auto attack range.
And they just don't hesitate. That's what's so fun about this Hong Kong Attitude team. They know they're ahead, but even when they weren't, happy to take those coin flips, because as long as they can execute somebody quickly, they can keep going. And you just see so many projectiles flying. It's hard. J-Team, they're just going to have to two-step to it. Meanwhile, Bivens marching minions down mid.
Right now, the only burstable target is, I think, for the most part, going to be Rock. They have to catch out Rock first and still have to worry about the rest of the team. It's very difficult to go through everyone. K is protecting Bivin, and you also have Eminem with that stasis on command. So J-Team don't have a lot of great targets, and they're running out of room to hold on here. They're going to lose this tower 100%. They just need it back.
Yeah, not much you can do about it. Just the siege potential is huge. In the beginning of the game, it was all about trying to deny Eminem. Lil V pushed up the lane, but that strategy did not work. And now 30 minutes into the game, we see a massive gold lead. Hong Kong Attitude busting this game wide open. About all J-Team have been able to do is slow down the Ocean Soul by taking that trade while the Baron was happening.
Yeah, that's the only bright spot for J-Team so far, is at least they can slow down the Dragon Soul stuff like you're talking about. I think in this game overall, we get a really good picture of why Syndra, even though she's great in lane against Aphelios, is such a niche pick. Maybe only Jackie Love plays this matchup. Some people in EU do. But we can see the limitations of this play is that it just doesn't really work well in a 1-3-1 setup. She has so little escapes that you have to basically snowball the game from the laning phase onward. She's a tempo pick. And if you fail on any momentum, then the enemy team can just kind of snowball you away. Like Lil V at this point doesn't have the burst damage. He's going up against a lot of perfect timings. And he's a huge vulnerability on his own team at this point. Like, he hasn't been able to survive any of these team fights, and he's still not going into either Banshees or the Zanya. So Hong Kong Attitude honestly can just take down Lil V super easily. Like, I think 100% they're just going to go for that target. And what we haven't been able to see is Rest just, be there on time because of how fast these carries are going down.
And Hong Kong Attitude have been doing a good job of kiting right now, right? Like they're playing respectfully around what they don't know is when other people are going to be in the area. And meanwhile, Kong Ye tried to steal the red buff. It would have been great to see a 3-for-3, but not going to happen. That's okay. It's really just a little bit of cheeky play there from the HKA carry. But for J-Team, yeah, it is all a desperation setup right now. We saw them attempt a couple of death brushes. They can maybe try to force something, but they're getting squeezed out of their own base here, and at the moment, they're going to take a little bit of time to try and secure some vision up around Baron Pit, but it's still a minute and a half away. Oh, Lil V just tanking so much damage, and here comes Bivin, gold card on, Rest trying to body block, but he's still going to get deleted, and Kongye goes into his stasis, and they just can't do anything about it. Now, the path is cleared for mid lane. They might want to take a fight instead.
Yeah, Hana trying to get a little bit adventurous right there, but Eminem does have the red buff, so he instantly has to get out of there. And this was such a smart play from Hong Kong Attitude. They know that J-Team have to check on that Baron. Oh, in they go again.
The rise. Oh, just absolutely blows him to smithereens. Nothing he can do about that. The Narvar is going to come up, but he doesn't even get to use it. Hong Kong Attitude way too far ahead as they break into the base and take inhibitor number 1. I think they might keep pushing with those death timers, though.
I hate pointing out the obvious, but all 3 carries from J-Team failed to contribute a single auto attack in that team fight. Hong Kong Attitude just with the Hook City.
It's going, and absolutely gone. Hong Kong Attitude cleaning up game 1 in fabulous style.
Oh, great game plan coming in from Hong Kong Attitude. Easy to execute, strong to pick off the 1-3-1, and they all surround Kongria with great crowd control pieces. Hong Kong Attitude, they know what they want. They've had a lot of trials and tribulations through the regular split, but they are finally here as they manage one of the greatest upsets that we have in the bracket so far.
Oh, it was beautiful to see, and there were early moments it looked like J-Team were gonna have their game plan in hand, but it all came undone, and a couple of unforced errors and advantage gained by Hong Kong Attitude. This team, they keep doing it. they keep putting it on Kongye. They get him the kills, but this time it was all about that brilliant pick setup. I loved the Nidalee Thresh Twisted Fate combo. It was incredible. I mean, this team knows what it wants to do every single time, and these other squads are going to have to respect that.
Yeah, matchup-wise, it was absolutely brilliant. It was all about punishing the hesitation that often comes out of a J-Team squad. They are not a team that really plays in the moment or excels in those minute-to-minute, not really minute-to-minute, that's way too big of a time frame, but like millisecond-to-millisecond decision-making coming out from the other side. So I felt like J-Team actually were off to a pretty decent start. We saw in the bot lane that they did get, they got an early 3 for, I think, 1 trade. And they also found 2 plates early on in the bottom side. But what really started to go sideways was that Herald Overforce early on. That was a really weird play to witness. I felt like J-Team could have let things go. Hong Kong Attitude were actually not in a position to contest there, but they decided to go for it. And that's when the snowball really started to happen for Kongye. He got off to a 2-1 start, was able to actually complete the Night Harvester about the same time as Hana on that Gore Drinker, which you would think Hana with those early three takedowns was going to get there a lot faster, and he was just able to snowball the game. And you could see in these team fights, it was really no contest. Like, J-Team did not put up a 5v5 performance whatsoever. I really think they need to go back to the drawing board, and if you are going to go up against an early snowballing team like Hong Kong Attitude, you're going to have to meet them at Drake's, and you're going to have the engage power to actually fight them there. So I think J-Team, they should get out of their heads a little bit. Even though they are going up against a lower bracket team, this is a team on the rise. You cannot go in and just say that, hey, they're going to make mistakes, they're going to allow us to scale up the late game. If we pick this Rise, if we pick this Gnar, we're going to get a get out of jail free card post 35 minutes. That's not going to happen in today's Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah, I think that this is a team that you can't really think about the season, right? You talk about how they've been on an upswing, and it certainly has been the case. And also, J-Team, they last lost to this squad in the regular season. It's kind of the same story with maybe a couple of exceptions. For one, it was a lot closer last time around. Hong Kong Attitude, it was much more of a convincing victory, and now it is in the playoffs. And Bivin is actually going to be our MVP. Did not get a kill, but you know what? He was there for every single one of them. Gold card setups for days.
And this is why Hong Kong Attitude has been able to play with basically only one champion from Midland. They have one of the most exploitable pools. And honestly, I'm not even willing to say Bivin has a great Twisted Fate, but they have found a archetype for him to play around. They have found ways to integrate him into the entire composition and to pair up with Kongye, despite, questionable individual performances. So, kudos to him. Like, this is just him kind of hitting his stride, finding his place on the team, and really silencing a lot of the doubts that we had from bringing Bivin back, despite some lackluster split in spring and Hongso actually having some better games. So, we will see if this is going to be a big target in the series going down the line. I feel like if you take away the Twisted Fate, then Nidalee is less of a threat going into it. So I'd like to see the way that J-Team decides to play out the draft later on. But they're definitely not going for 1-3-1, and they're definitely not playing Syndra versus Aphelios anymore.
I think the draft will definitely be telling going forward. Really excited to see what J-Team can do after this one. But yeah, Bivin, he's stepped it up, I think, in some levels, and maybe they start banning him away. I think that Lee Sin is always an option for this team to move on to, but I want to see if they force him off those champions, what can happen instead?
We'll wait and see.
Yeah, I suppose we will. Still waiting to hear. I think we are going to be going to break, so we will be right back after this one.